For a number of months, we've been hearing about the future of PSG star Neymar, and it was a little surprising to see that Nasser Al Khelaifi and company weren't as desperate to hold on to the Brazil international as they were in the past, when he was heavily linked with a return to Barcelona. But things have changed drastically since then, and the 30-year-old is no longer the main man at Parc des Princes. We've all been waiting for it, and it's only a matter of days. Romelu Lukaku is all set to return to Inter Milan this summer after it was reported that the Italian giants and Chelsea have started making compromises for the deal. Chelsea, on the other hand, are desperate to get the new ownership era to kick off on a strong note, and the Blues are set for a big transfer window which will see a couple of moves happen. So, time is money, so let's get into the thick of it after you've subscribed and get ready for your daily dose of all things football. For the Londoners, the return of Romelu Lukaku to Inter is becoming clearer. To replace him, the Blues are aiming for Raheem Sterling. Thomas Tuchel is a big fan of the player and has already validated his interest. The Daily Mirror did not specify an amount, but the cost of the transfer will be high for the Manchester City winger, out of contract in a year. According to The Sun, captain Cesar Azpilicueta could officially ask his club to allow him to join FC Barcelona. To replace him, Sevilla FC defender Jules Koundé is considered a priority. As plan B, Chelsea might opt for Matthijs de Ligt, but as reported by Corriere dello Sport, Juve are working on an extension until 2026. The Dutchman's release clause is currently €125 million and will increase to €140 million next year. To cut a long story short, Chelsea are set to embark upon a new era, but it appears that their spending spree is not going to be impacted following the arrival of a new owner who seems to be completely invested in the team doing well. A few days before turning 50, Zinedine Zidane gave an interview to Telefoot. For the occasion, the French coach, who has been without a club since leaving Real Madrid in 2021, confided that he wanted to return to action very quickly. If I have the feeling that I can bring things to football? Yes. Many things I don't know, but something, yes again. I want to continue on this path. I still have that flame, of course. Football is my passion, so yes. According to information from RMC Sport, it will not be at PSG. The French tactician is ready to succeed Didier Deschamps as the manager of Les Bleus. It must be mentioned that the contract of the French coach ends at the end of the 2022 World Cup. Marseille supporters can therefore breathe a sigh of relief, even if Zizou did not close the door to Paris Saint-Germain at the end of the season. There are some soap operas that make the front page a little more than others during the various transfer windows. This summer, everyone was waiting for the one around Kylian Mbappe, but the French world champion has already made his decision and extended his contract at Paris Saint-Germain. Erling Haaland, on leaving Borussia Dortmund, chose to sign for Manchester City, despite interest from Real Madrid. But there are other hot issues that have not yet been settled, such as the future of Paul Pogba, the future destination of Robert Lewandowski, or the possible arrival of Frankie de Jong at Man United. In England precisely, there is another club that is being talked about a lot, namely Chelsea, or rather, a player. Returning to Chelsea last summer after 2 seasons with Inter, Romelu Lukaku did not exactly set the world on fire during the 2021-22 campaign with the Blues, despite scoring 15 goals in 44 appearances in all competitions. It must be said that his interview at the end of December, in which he expressed his dissatisfaction in England and evoked the desire for a return to Lombardy, did not help. Now the 29-year-old can focus on his future as the campaign is over, and a return to the Nerazzurri is close. For several weeks now, Chelsea and Inter have been discussing the arrival of the Belgian international to the Giuseppe Meazza this summer. The positions have long been distant between the two sides, while the player concerned has long wanted to return to Inter, even by considerably lowering his salary. And finally, the Italian leaders finally seem to be reaching the goal. As Sky Italia reported on Sunday evening, a new meeting took place between the Blues and Nerazzurri to discuss Romelu Lukaku. During their exchange with their counterparts, the leaders of Chelsea asked for a paying loan of €10 million, without counting the possible performance-related bonuses over the course of the upcoming season, and the Transalpine media explains that Inter are ready to accept this proposal. Only points still to be settled: to have the agreement of the owner Steven Zhang. If the latter validates this operation with these figures, Romelu Lukaku will then once again be an Inter striker in the form of a loan. Like many clubs across the old continent, PSG must cut down, but for now, even if the transfer window has only just begun, the club from the capital is struggling. With more than a dozen players considered undesirable in the workforce, the reigning French champions can nevertheless hope to make a profit. But the high salaries enjoyed by the Parisian players, among other reasons, complicate the task for other interested clubs. This is difficult for other teams who might want to sign some of the fringe players at Parc des Princes, but can't offer crazy salaries to them. This is why a lot of players were loaned out last season. In fact, Rafinha is one player who has troubled the club. According to reports, the champions of France are even considering terminating the player's contract in order to allow him to seek employment elsewhere. Loaned to Real Sociedad in the second half of the season, the La Masia Academy graduate therefore has a good chance of signing definitively with the Basque Giants, who wish to keep him permanently. But they will have to be wary, since Celta de Vigo and Fiorentina are reportedly also in the game. And there is no doubt that if the player finds himself free of any contract, many other clubs will come knocking on his door. Despite a contract that runs until 2025, will Neymar already leave Paris Saint-Germain this summer? Obviously, the leaders of PSG are considering this hypothesis more and more seriously, provided there's a club that can pay the price. Last month, when Paris Saint-Germain had just been crowned champions of France for the 10th time in their history, Neymar had mentioned the whistles against him, with the punchline of which he alone has the secret. They, the supporters, will get tired of whistling because I have 3 years left on my contract. Words that are offensive to say the least, but which seem to reflect the desire of the former FC Barcelona star to stay until 2025 in Ligue 1. But does the senior leadership share the same option? Between injuries and lifestyle, Neymar was talked about a lot last season. Despite his repeated absences, the 30-year-old has crossed the bar of featuring 20 Ligue 1 matches, and this has happened for only the second time since his arrival at PSG. In the Champions League, his impact was minimal, with 2 assists and no goals scored. Disappointing for the highest paid player in France. According to Le Parisien, Nasser Al-Khelaifi and the management of PSG would listen to any offer deemed reasonable, but the latter was bought for €222 million in 2017, and there is no doubt that PSG will want to amortize their investment. At the same time, the Daily Star reveals that Paris could be forced to sell to comply with the new rules of the DNCG, and thus decrease their payroll from 90 to 70% of its income. All the more reason to kick Neymar out the door. While he does have 3 years left on his current deal, Neymar is not really at the height of his powers any longer. He was initially indulged a lot by the club's president and has never managed to enjoy an injury-free campaign. The future for PSG is now Kylian Mbappe, and with a new sporting director in the shape of Lucas Ocampos in town, Neymar is no longer considered an untouchable. And if the French giants do receive a good offer, they are likely to let go of a player who promised a lot but delivered very little.